Hi guys, I'm Mike and this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to a breaking news story, and it is something that has kind of taken over the F1 world. It was something that last year, we'll go into the detail of it, but last year in an investigation into Ferrari's power unit in terms of whether it was using more than the allowed fuel into the engine via some kind of tricksy method to kind of get past it, that teams widely agreed would be cheating if was found true, was concluded last week. And Ferrari issued a statement which was: the FIA announces that after thorough technical investigations, it has concluded its analysis of the operation of the Scuderia Ferrari Formula One power unit and reached a settlement with the team. The specifics of the agreement will remain between the parties. The FIA and Scuderia Ferrari have agreed to a number of technical commitments and will improve the monitoring of all Formula One power units for forthcoming championship seasons, as well as assist the FIA in other regulatory duties in Formula One and its research activities on carbon emissions and sustainable fuels. So this statement was issued last Friday. And, it was a little bit funny because settlement is the key word there that I think a lot of the teams have had. And now all 7 teams who aren't linked to Ferrari's power unit, so Ferrari, Haas and Alfa Romeo aren't included in this, but every other team on the grid have issued a joint statement today. Well, they've all released the same statement, and that statement reads: "We, the undersigned teams, were surprised and shocked by the FIA statement of Friday the 28th of February regarding the conclusion of its investigation into the Scuderia Ferrari Formula One power unit. An international sporting regulator has the responsibility to act with the highest standards of governance, integrity and transparency. After months of investigation that were undertaken by the FIA only following queries raised by other teams, we strongly object to the FIA reaching a confidential settlement agreement with Ferrari to conclude this matter. Therefore, we hereby state publicly our shared commitment to pursue full and proper disclosure in this matter to ensure that our sports treats all competitors fairly and equally. We do so on behalf of the fans, the participants and the stakeholders of Formula One. In addition, we reserve our rights to seek legal redress within the FIA's due process and before the competent courts." Now, obviously, this is huge because it's got all 7 teams in agreement. Obviously, Alfa Romeo and Haas being a customer of Ferrari, I don't think, there was any issues with their power unit last year. But, it makes sense. You're not going to go out and start kind of bad-mouthing the person who's supplying your engine, because the key thing we have to note here, yes, obviously, this first arose around the US Grand Prix, when both Mercedes and Red Bull said on their GPS tracking there was kind of funny data that was coming across, because I believe the point was raised in the Mexico Grand Prix, which was the week before. Obviously, Max Verstappen came out at the time and said Ferrari were cheating, or said that's what happens when you stop cheating. The key thing we have to measure here, this is not conclusive proof that Ferrari have cheated. Yes, I admit it does not look great, a kind of secretive settlement between Ferrari and the FIA to kind of move things forward. But remember, all Formula One teams are pushing the boundaries of things, and Ferrari may have found a loophole last year within the rules, and, yes, that questions the integrity of it. But there is no conclusive proof. The main problem here and issue, and I think this is the main one that kind of settles with the teams and which should be taken from this kind of joint kind of venture against the FIA here, is because they have done this in secret. Those teams have a right to know what the conclusion of those investigations are, because, if Ferrari were doing something, and it was legal and they wanted to keep it quiet, other teams, felt that information's withheld. And if it is illegal, well, then all the teams have a right to know. Obviously, the last time that a team was found to be, well, Obviously, Crashgate was one, but I mean in terms of cheating, in terms of taking information from other teams, that was, of course, in McLaren in 2007, and they were obviously excluded from the championship as a constructor. So if Ferrari were cheating, then obviously I think a lot of the teams would want their 2019 position to be kind of taken out of the record books and for them to lose the associated money that came with that prize. And because obviously that would mean more money for Red Bull, it would mean more money for kind of teams like McLaren, Renault, everything, because everyone would naturally step up one place and get a greater share of the prize money on that front. But yeah, for me it's a little bit shady, and as a governing body you cannot kind of be making secret agreements like this, and certainly you don't release it in a public statement like that, because you are likely to get a backlash like this. But it is unusual that all these 7 teams have kind of agreed and kind of, backed this themselves and, really kind of got behind the same one. But clarity needs to be set here. But I think the key message is this isn't definitive proof that Ferrari are cheating. What the issue is here is the FIA have not been clear about an investigation into a team and something that they were doing. This needs to kind of, be out in the open, and at least, maybe not even for fans, but the teams who compete in the sport certainly have a right to know. As fans, obviously, we would like to know. As people around the sport, we're always wanting to kind of know the big picture. But the main people who at least have a right to the kind of conclusions of this investigation are the other kind of competitors in F1. They need to know what went on with that Ferrari power unit, whether it was legal, illegal, or kind of it was a loophole that was exploited and is now illegal, if that makes sense. So it was legal at the time, but illegal in there. There just needs to be clarity on this situation. But guys, that is my thoughts on kind of this breaking news. It'd be interesting really to kind of hear your thoughts on this. What do you make of all 7 teams kind of working together? Do you feel like the FIA kind of owe it to the teams to, be clear and transparent? I mean, I think that one's fairly obvious on this one, but what are your conclusions from obviously the 2 main statements that came out from this? But yeah, it's certainly going to be a story that's unfolding over the next few weeks, and it's going to be really interesting to see what the outcome is of this. And we are awaiting statements from the FIA and Ferrari, so it'll be interesting to see what happens and what they say on that front. But that's it for today's breaking news video. We will be out later again with our usual F1 Fantasy Weekly, which comes out at our usual slot time at 6 PM, but I just needed to do a breaking story on this thing. But for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.